California grown oranges.
Hi, can I help you?
Yeah, do you know if this is organic or not?
I'm not sure if it's organic, sorry.
Do you know where it was sourced from?
No, I don't know where it's from either.
Alright, thank
Sorry.
you. There should be a convenient way where I can find out where this is sourced from.
Blockchain projects. Challenge statement. To provide a supply chain solution for farmers, transportation, and consumers, to reduce transaction costs for low-income farmers, easy to use for potentially illiterate communities in underdeveloped countries, low energy and bandwidth requirement, standard technology for interoperability with other supply chain applications. Website platform. Available for farmers, shippers, and consumers, integrated with the blockchain platform, consists of a low bandwidth network which provides low cost solutions for all three parties, easily usable for anyone to use, and also secure so data can't be altered by any third parties. Farmers would allow farmers to upload any certifications in the blockchain through the website in order to make an account. Easily operational, just scan the produce with a unique QR code to upload type of produce and amount. Could be remotely used with any Android device. Shippers, just scan the box of shipment with a QR code and input what is received. Could use a smart contract in order for it to be secure from farmer to shipper. Easy to use and trace, which helps with clarity and documentation. Secure, so shipper can't alter what is inside nor change destination. Consumer receives product and sees a QR code, scans from their phones and connects them to the blockchain website, shows each access point from farmer to shipper to their hands, can see if farmer is organic certified.
As mentioned before, FarmTrace interacts with PantherChain as its blockchain infrastructure system. PantherChain system is implemented using CHASP software design pattern. And CHASP pattern is an extension of the popular context object design pattern. It basically uses serializable Java objects. PantherChain is implemented as a Java EE application, and it also has a JSP-based user interface. PantherChain consists of several different classes, such as blockchain system, blockchain, wallet, transaction, JSON transaction, transaction output, consensus, hasher, PoMiner, MD5 hasher, and so on. But the core of the PantherChain is within the blockchain system class. FarmTrace is a front-end client for PantherChain. We've implemented an API which can act as a communication bridge among the PantherChain and FarmTrace client application. The API receives calls from FarmTrace client application to interact with PantherChain and make use of it. Client applications will make network request calls to API server, and the server will return them a response accordingly. Currently implemented API calls are API GetKey, API AddJSON, API Search UID, API Search Wallet, which will be used to generate new wallets, add new transactions to the blockchain system, and find transactions based on their UIDs. Using this API will facilitate the development and performance of PantherChain's client applications such as FarmTrace.
This is one of the running nodes of the PantherChain on this Azure staging server. And as you can see, it contains the JSP implemented user interface. We have 5 different JSP pages here for home, view blockchain wallet, create transaction, and mine transaction. The home page contains the top 5 blocks, which are the most recent blocks and most recent transactions. View blockchain page contains all of the blocks and all of the transactions on this certain node. In this case, we have 12 total blocks and 12 total transactions. The wallet page contains the wallet's public key and the private key. And the very first time that you go to this PantherChain node, it will check to see if there exists a cookie on your system containing a public key for a wallet. If not, it means it's your first time using the PantherChain on that certain device, and it will automatically generate a new wallet, and it will store the public key info as a cookie on your system for future use. In this case, this wasn't the first time that I've brought up the PantherChain on my computer on this browser, so it already detected the cookie, and it loaded the wallet's private key and public key based on the public key stored in that cookie. In the create transaction page, we have the option to make multiple types of transactions, such as text transactions or wallet transactions for transferring funds and stuff between Panther Chain wallets, as well as the JSON transaction. The farm trace application mostly uses JSON transactions to store data on the Panther Chain blockchain. And we also have the option to create signed transactions, and I'm just gonna create a test transaction in this node. As you can see, it's a successfully pulled transaction with this JSON data. Now the mine transactions page contains the transaction that we just made and the available transactions, and we just go ahead and select it and then mine it to the blockchain system. And this works the same way with the transactions which are added by the farm trace client. So they would show up in the available transactions part of the mine transactions page, and then after we select them, we just mine them into the blockchain. Now if I check the blockchain, we get the latest transaction, and we can see that it contains the test data for this test transaction that we just made a couple seconds ago.
Supply chain mapping in the blockchain can aid businesses in providing accessible data to all necessary actors within the supply chain to coordinate a much more efficient logistical process. This can also act as a mechanism to enforce quality control. For example, if some step within the production chain has an unwanted outbreak or recall, the firm or farmer can enact the necessary corrective measures in a time and cost-effective manner. This can also provide retailers assurance that third-party manufacturers or farmers are selling them the proper quality and quantity of product. Through this process, firms can then ensure that their products are safe and genuine to the consumer. This will show consumers that they are a reputable and honest firm that values transparency. Through this transparency, this will give firms a competitive advantage by building a reputation of being a reputable and honest firm that consumers can truly trust.
Let's begin the demonstration of the application. We tap on the icon that takes us to the main screen. Now here it says that you have to verify registration before you can log in. So we tap on verify registration, and we see it tells us to register first. We tap on register, and suppose my name is Tony and I'm a farmer. I save my user data. Now in order to interact with the blockchain, we'll need public and private keys. So I get those keys from the server and I store them onto my device. Now I go back to login. Again, we verify our registration, and clearly we can see that the registration was successful since it displays the last 5 characters of my public key, my name, and my role. Now I can go to login. Since we are a farmer, we go to the farmer login screen. Here I put in the name of my product. So let's say that I grow mangoes on my farm. Okay, I grew 300 pounds of mangoes this batch, and I'm selling this to a shipper named Mango Express. Okay, now we save this data and add it to the Panther chain. You'll notice on the upper side of the screen we've got this string. This represents the unique ID that will track this specific batch of mangoes across the blockchain. We copy this and keep it in our we copy this as it will come handy later. Okay, now we're done with the role of a farmer. Now let's imagine that we are the shipper who represents Mango Express. My name is Michael, and I save my data. I get my keys again. I go to login. I verify my registration, which is successful. I go to login, the shipper screen, and I enter the unique ID which I copied from the farmer. So in real world, the farmer will get the string and give it to the shipper. The shipper will give that string to the retailer, and that's how it's gonna work. Now I fill the value This is the name of the retailer that I'm selling those mangoes to. And my mangoes are USDA organic. So this concludes the data entry of the shipper. We save the data, we add it to the Panther chain, and we go back. Now the role of the shipper is over. We register as a retailer. In a real world scenario, these operations will be done by multiple users who have multiple. In a real world scenario, these operations will be done on multiple devices by different users. But for the demonstration, we're doing it all on the same device. Now suppose that I'm a retailer who represents Publix and my name is Fox. I save the data, I get keys, and I go back to login. I verify my registration, then I press on login again. I log in to the retailer screen and finally enter the UID. So I enter the name of the shipper that sold those mangoes to me, and I'm done. I save the data, I add it to Panther chain. So everybody in the supply chain is now done. So let's suppose a consumer comes in and sees the mangoes on the Publix shelf. Now he or she wants to verify, wants to see the journey of the mangoes. So first of all, in a real world scenario, the miners would have had a chance to mine the transactions before a consumer even sees the product. But for this demo, we are assuming that the consumer themselves do the mining. So let's type on the mine transaction. It opens the browser and we can see there are some available transactions which we will mine one by one. We tap on them and mine them. As we can see, there are no more transactions available to be mined. We go back to the application and it tells us to enter the UID if all the transactions have been mined. We enter the UID, paste it, get data. Now what this does is searches for all the transaction, all the blocks in the blockchain which contain this UID and gets it on our phone. Now we have to tap on the display product journey to see the whole journey of the product. And as we can see, Tony was a farmer who grew mangoes, 300 pounds of them, sold them to Mango Express. Michael, who represented Mango Express, sold them to Publix and certified them as USDA organic. Now Fox is the name of the representative of Publix who added these to the blockchain finally and put in that they were in fact sold by Mango Express to Publix. And that's it. This is the demonstration of the application. Now before we end this, I'd like to add some more points. A primary use case of this application could be finding the source of diseases in livestock and farm products. Also, we could add QR code generator and reader, which we were supposed to do but we couldn't add, and this could be our future updates. Apart from that, we could also implement geographical technology like getting location of the product to track the actual geographical journey of the product. This will definitely improve the value of the solution as a whole.
This is the demo of the web client for FarmTrace and Panther Chain. What we see here is the code that accomplishes posting data to Panther Chain. We set the users to the product 12000. It can be any string you can realize. This is actually scanned from the QR code and retrieved. So what I would like to show you is the functionality of the farmer, shipper, aggregator, retailer, and track. In fact, the application is split into a separate application for each of these complements of the supply chain. However, I will only show you one aggregate view for ease of understanding. So what data is entered into the blockchain is seen here. JSON data is respect to the farmer. You have the farmer's name, you have the IUD, there is a unique identifier for the product of the role for this particular individual of the supply chain, and then you have the product, the quantity of the product, Similarly, I have data respect to the shipper, which is FedEx, my brand, UID pertains the same. I have data for the aggregator, which the aggregator here is United Lever. And finally, I have retailer, which the retailer name is Publix. So the supply of the product will go through these 4 stages in our demo. Next, I will show you the demo for our Panther chain. So this is Farmer Trace client. I have Farmer who basically enters the data into the remote server, which is a blockchain. Here I can see all the blocks in the blockchain. I have the home screen. I can see the mine transactions that are available. What we can see here is the data that was in JSON that was sent here as a web service. We can select this transaction, which is a JSON transaction, and go ahead and mine this transaction into the blockchain. Go back to the farm trace web client. I do the same action to the shipper, the aggregator, and the retailer. At this time, I go back to the blockchain and I can see all the details here. I have the shipper's name, which is FedEx, my brand. I have the aggregator's name, and I have the retailer, which is Publix. And it's showing each of them here as a separate transaction. I select these transactions to selected transactions, and I mine the selected transactions. And what I will see here are all the transactions entered into the blockchain in the corresponding order as well as the time created. Let's go back to the Farm Trace web client. Here I want to track what's happening to the package. This will show the flow and stages of the supply chain. Once I click it, it will give me the entire set of the JSON structures of the entire supply chain. So if I was building a very complex client, I could have actually parsed each section to validate the signature of each of these JSON fields for ease of use. But today I will only use the web client. So here is the tracking details of the package. I see the farmer's role. The farmer's name is here. Then I have the shipper. Then I have the aggregator. United Lever. Finally, I have the retailer, which is Publix. From the simple random survey we did using Qualtrics, we were able to pull 50 responses. From the data we observed, a greater number of responses from the 18 to 24 group, being 36 of the 50 responses. This infographic displays what consumers want in a mobile application divided by age. It displays colors, branding, interface, straightforward, and other as the options to pick from, and we divided by age to display it uniformly. Interface seems to be the most popular choice throughout all the age groups. Does farm trace information matter? Here's a graph that does a cross-axis of do you eat organic food, as well as where do you get your organic information from? It's from friends, relatives, television advertisements, newspaper, magazine advertisements, educational events, health magazines, and other. And we can tell that the greater the proportion is in probably yes, which shows most people get their information from other.
So what can we expect of FormTrace in the future? The success of integrating FormTrace or supply chain mapping through blockchain can incentivize other firms to adopt this technology due to its cost and time-saving effects. It will also drive demand by consumers due to its transparency and ease of accessibility. Mass adoption of supply chain mapping through blockchain can also help build a more productive economy and increase GDP by allowing firms to increase their scalability due to its cost and time-saving nature. We can also expect FormTrace to improve its efficiency by integrating other technologies, such as, but not limited to, RFID, also known as Radio Frequency Identification, or GIS, also known as Geographical Information System, to document various steps in the supply chain process, which will provide a time and labor saving effect.
California, locally grown. Oh, nice.